All right, today we are going to talk about slope-intercept form, which we've talked about before, and then we're going to talk about a new guy called point-slope form. So that is brand new to you. All right, let's just look at our first example here. It says graph the line using the point and the slope. It gives us the point -3, -2, and it gives us a slope of 3. So remember, whenever you're graphing, you always want to start by plotting your point. So since the x-coordinate's -3, I go left 3. And since the y-coordinate is -2, I go down 2. So there's my point, -3, -2. Now, what is this 3 understood to be over? A 1. And remember, slope is rise over run or fall over run. So since this is a positive 3, we're going to rise, we're going to go up. And this 1 is what we run, and since it's positive, we're going to go right. So from the point I plotted, I'm going to go up 3, right 1, put a new point. Do it again. Up 3, right 1. Let's do it one more time. Up 3, right 1. And then I can draw my diagonal line. Okay, the next part says, write the equation of the line in slope-intercept form. So what does slope-intercept form look like again? Y equals mx plus b. Okay, so I know in order to write an equation of this form, I only have to know two things, my slope and my y-intercept. So what did we say the slope was? We said the slope was 3, so I'm going to put a 3 where the m is. I recopy the x, the equals, and the y. And then what's the y-intercept? Where does this graph cross the y-axis? It crosses the y-axis right there, and what is that? 7, and it's a positive 7, so I'm going to put plus 7. And that's our equation in slope-intercept form. Okay, so that was review. So now we're going to start looking at something that's new to you. This says steps for writing an equation if you're given a point and a slope. So I want you to know right now, if you're ever given a point, we're going to use this form called point-slope form. So if you're ever given a point, we're going to use point-slope form, unless it happens to be from a picture. If you're given a point to plot, I'll probably just look at the picture and write it like I did up here. But if it's not a graph and they give us a point, I'm going to write my equation in this new form called point-slope form. Now, in order to be ready for point-slope form, we have to have a point and we have to have a slope. If we don't have a point and a slope, we're not ready for this. Okay, so the way this works is you just have to know what your slope is, and then you have to know what your ordered pair is, what your point is, and that will go into the x1 and the y1. And this y will just always stay a y. This x will just always stay an x. And then once we get the equation in point-slope form, we'll convert it to slope-intercept. Okay, so let's try. Number 1 says write the equation in point-slope form for the line that passes through -2, 6 and has a slope of -5. So as soon as I see that I'm given a point, I know I'm going to use point-slope form. So let me go ahead and write down point-slope form. And then I'm going to just start plugging things in. So it goes y minus the y-coordinate. Which of these is the y-coordinate? The 6. So I'm going to put a 6. And then I recopy the equals. M's the slope. And what did the problem say the slope was? The slope is -5. So I'm going to put -5 where the m is. Then I recopy my parentheses, and I'm going to write x minus. And now it wants the x-coordinate. And which of these is the x-coordinate? The -2, so I write -2. And what do we know about our minus, our negative? It makes a gigantic plus. Okay, and now we have point-slope form. And now we're going to convert it to slope-intercept form. So we want to get rid of these parentheses. So I'm going to do that by distributing. So what do you get if you take -5 times x? -5x. What do you get if you take -5 times a +2? A -10. and I just bring down my equals, and I just bring down my y minus 6. Okay, now I'm trying to get y by itself, so how could I move this minus 6? I'm going to add 6, so I add 6 here, and I add 6 here. The reason I don't add it to the x is because they're not like terms, and I wouldn't be able to add them anyway. So negative 6 plus 6 is 0, so that's gone. The y a drop down, the equals a drop down, this negative 5x a drop down, and then how much is negative 10 plus 6? A negative 4. And there is our equation converted to slope-intercept form. Okay, I hope that wasn't confusing. It's just, if you ever are given a point, we're going to use point-slope form, and as long as you have the point and the slope, you're ready to go. And this y always stays a y, this x always stays an x. You simply put the slope where the m is, and whatever the point is, the x-coordinate goes here, and the y-coordinate goes here. Okay, I just want to tack on another problem down here. So let's say I gave you the point negative 4, negative 5, and I tell you the slope is 2. Okay, since I gave you a point, I'm going to use point-slope form. And because I gave you the point and the slope, then we're ready for point-slope form. It's all in the name. As long as you have the point and the slope, you're ready for point-slope form. So here it goes. It goes y minus, now this wants the y-coordinate, so which of these is the y-coordinate? The negative 5, so I write negative 5. I recopy the equals. Now it wants the slope. What's the slope? 2. And then I recopy x minus, and now it wants the x-coordinate. Which of these is the x-coordinate? The negative 4, so I write negative 4. Now I just need to clean some things up. What happens with our minus and negative? Big plus. Minus the negative, big plus. Now that's point-slope form. Now I want to convert it to slope-intercept form, which is y equals mx plus b. So first thing I'm going to do is distribute. I need to distribute my 2 to make the parentheses go away. So how much is 2 times x? 2x. How much is 2 times a positive 4? A positive 8. And then I bring down the equals, and I bring down the y plus 5. Okay, to get y by itself, how do I move this plus 5? I'm going to subtract it. So I subtract 5 here, and I subtract 5 here. And then I just start dropping things down. 5 minus 5 is 0. That's gone. Bring down the y, bring down the equals, bring down the 2x. And then how much is positive 8 minus 5? A positive 3. And there's our answer in slope-intercept form. So slope-intercept form is y equals mx plus b. Point-slope form looks like this guy right here. All right. What are you thinking? Not too bad? Let's give it a little smiley face and turn the paper over. Okay. This one says write the equation in point-slope form for the line that passes through negative 6, negative 9, and has a slope of 1/3. Okay, so they gave me the point, they gave me the slope, so I'm ready for point-slope form. So let's just write that equation down so it's right in front of our faces. And I say this, y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. Okay, so we write y minus, this one's the y-coordinate, so which of these is the y-coordinate? The negative 9, so I write negative 9. I recopy the equals. Now it wants the slope. What's the slope? 1/3. I recopy my parenthesis and my x minus. Now it wants the x-coordinate. Which of these is the x-coordinate? The negative 6, so I write negative 6. And that's point slope form. Now I'm just going to clean it up.
Students, there'll be no tutoring this morning. We're PSAT plan and explore testing.
We're going to turn this into a
no
plus.
No morning tutoring. So if you would please wait in those areas.
We're going to turn this into a plus.
Or waiting in the cafeteria, library, or blue gym. We appreciate you. Have a good day.
Okay, next thing I need to do to convert this to slope-intercept form is get rid of these parentheses, so I need to distribute. So how much is 1/3 times x? 1/3 x. Now I need to figure out what 1/3 times 6 is. So I'm just going to do that over here off to the side. 1/3 times 6. Remember, every number is understood to be over a 1. So I can go straight across, and then reduce. So what's 1 times 6? 6. What's 3 times 1? 3. Reduce that. What's 6 divided by 3? 2. So that's what you get when you take 1/3 times 6. You get a positive 2, so I put plus 2. Okay, I bring down this equals, and I'm going to bring down my y plus 9. Okay, one more step. In order to get y by itself, I need to move this plus 9, and how do I get rid of the plus 9? I subtract 9 from both sides. 9 minus 9 is 0, so that's gone. Drop your y, drop your equals, drop your 1/3 x, and then how much is a positive 2 minus 9? A negative 7. And there's our equation converted to slope-intercept form. Not so bad. Okay, number 5. It says identify the slope and point used to write this equation. Okay, so let me just write down the point slope formula again, because that's what this looks like. So let's start with slope, because slope's the easiest. Which of those numbers is the slope? The 4. The slope is what's right here, what's in front of the parentheses, and you can see that the number in front of the parentheses is the 4, so that's the slope. Okay, now I want to know the point. So let's figure out the point. Remember, the x-coordinate is always back here. But see how this says x plus and the formula says x minus? So if this is supposed to go x minus, what kind of number do you think this was in order to make it turn into a plus 2? X minus a negative 2? Would that turn it into x plus 2? So that means the x-coordinate, the number behind the minus, is this negative 2 here. So negative 2 is the x-coordinate. Now the y-coordinate is what is after the y minus. So it says y minus, and the number after the y minus is a positive 3, so I put a positive 3. So the formula is always supposed to go y minus x minus. If it ever turns into x plus, you know that's because they subtracted a negative. If it ever becomes y plus, you know it's because they subtracted a negative. So that's why this is a negative 2, because it went x minus a negative 2 in order to turn into the plus 2. So there's our slope and our point. Now I could graph this very easily now, because I could plot my point and then I could rise and run with my slope to get my line. Okay, and then this next one says review. Find the x and y intercepts. Do you remember how we find x and y intercepts again when we have an equation? We plug in zeros. Now, I could plug in zeros just the way it is right now. I have that option. Or I could convert this to slope-intercept form first and then do it. So you have choices. I don't know which one's really easier. Let's just practice putting this in slope-intercept form just to practice that skill, and then we'll go from there. So if I want to put this in slope-intercept form, what's the first thing I do? I distribute. I distribute that 4 so the parentheses will go away. How much is 4 times x? 4x. How much is 4 times 2? 8, and it's positive, so I put plus 8. Bring down the equals, and bring down the y minus 3. Now, to get y by itself, how do I move this minus 3? I add 3 to both sides. Negative 3 plus 3 is 0. That's gone. Bring down your y, bring down your equals, bring down your 4x. And then how much is 8 plus 3? A positive 11. So there's our equation. Now, you should know the y-intercept just by looking at this equation. Which of these is the y-intercept? The 11. Remember y equals mx plus b? B is the y-intercept, and you can see that the b is 11. So the y-intercept is 11. Now, I do want to practice writing that as an ordered pair. So, do you remember how it would go? Y-intercepts always have a 0 for the x. The 11 is the y-coordinate. So that's our y-intercept. Okay, if I want to find the x-intercept, I can't just look at this equation and figure it out. I know 4 is the slope, and I know 11 is the y-intercept. So if I want to find the x-intercept, do you remember how we do that? We put 0 into y. It's always the opposite letter. If I want to find an x-intercept, I put 0 into the y. And if I had to do that up here for the y-intercept, I would have put 0 into the x. Okay, so with this equation right here, I'm going to put 0 into this y. So this is going to say 0 equals, and then I'm going to recopy the 4x plus 11. Now my goal is to solve for x. So let me circle everything smushed with it. Now what? Subtract 11 from both sides. The 4x a drop. The equals drops. How much is 0 minus 11? Negative 11. And now how do I get rid of this 4? I divide both sides by 4. And I can't reduce this, so that's just my answer. X equals negative 11 fourths. And I'm just going to leave it like that for right now. If I was graphing, I would probably convert that to a decimal, but because I'm not graphing, I'm just going to leave it the improper fraction. As long as it's reduced, it's all good. Okay, let's write this as an ordered pair. Since this is the x-coordinate, does it go first or second? X-coordinates go first. And what is it I put into my y? 0. And there is our y-intercept, or our x-intercept. So that's a little review. If you want to find x and y intercepts, we typically plug in zeros if you're given an equation. And I could have plugged in zeros from the very beginning. I just decided to practice putting this in slope-intercept form first, and then once it's in slope-intercept form, I've got my y-intercept immediately. And then all I had to do to find the x-intercept was plug the 0 into the y and solve. Okay, thank you so much.